All right, we're live. I think. All right, it says we're live, so I'm gonna assume we're live here. Oh God, I hope we
Okay.
are. All right, welcome people who are here. It's Kit from Burn One, obviously. I'm joined
Still says
with
they're waiting on Burn One, homie.
what?
Oh, never mind. There
I
we
mean,
are.
it's always delayed,
But
dude.
it's
Why?
live.
Yeah,
Always live.
yeah. So I don't even know where I was. Fuck it, we're starting over. All right, hey guys, this is Kit from Burn One. Obviously, we're here with Carmen, um, Nico, and Hanson. You guys want to say hi?
What up?
Hello.
All right, Carmen with that silent hi with his Italian
What?
hand signals.
Oh
All right.
no, I said it.
Oh, I didn't pick up.
Maybe Discord cut me off. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we're here with what are we doing here? Oh yeah, we are going over the WGP National invitees and looking at the decks they won with here really quick. Well, some of the more popular decks. So if you're not familiar with the Japanese meta and you only play English, you can get a quick rundown here, understand what's going on in the Japanese meta, understanding what some of these decks do that you don't see in English, so that when you watch Nationals tonight or when we do a restream of it this coming Sunday with commentary at a more reasonable time for people to watch, you can come and enjoy it a little bit more. First, we'd like to thank Kevin from SBTCG for actually putting all this information together. He's been spending a lot of time going through Twitter and everything and going on the Bushiroad main website to get all the stats together and get all the deck lists together. So all this information, which I totally forgot to put in the more information section, will be put in the more information section once we finish this stream. So you can click the link there and check it out if he hasn't already shared this everywhere else. So we're going to just jump right into it. The first few decks we're going to talk about, if you're very familiar with English meta already, some of these decks might look familiar, but we're still going to go through them if you're brand new to the game. The first list here is Kaguya. I guess, Carmen, you want to take this one? Or
Yeah, sure. So Kaguya is like a hybrid standby deck. It runs standby door into the Kaguya finisher that probably everybody at this point should probably know. It burns one on attack, and then on reverse you can resonate and burn one. So it's like pay one, ditch a card to like burn one, attack, burn one. It's like really, really good. Like pings back and forth. Very reminiscent of Mikasa. If you played the game for a long time, you know how strong that kind of finisher would be. That card's also a healer. It's also on a door, and then you're also playing standby. So that should start to make sense if you played the game for a long time.
No.
Why that can be so insane. Kaguya also has probably the most disgusting level 0 lineup of any deck right now. They have a clean cut that's also a runner, which is this green K on the screen right now. It's just 2K, but like you have all these pumps, like your Chica Ricky, which is a true search Ricky, can reveal the top card of your deck to give something 2K. The main way you're going to get reverses. You run like a 6 to 7 runner lineup. I can't exactly tell if that's a 3 or a 2 on Kit's stream right now that he's sharing to us, but
It looks like a 3.
you play a lot of runners, so while also being a clean cut yourself. So you like hate on oversizes with your pumps while also dodging combat for your opponent that might also be playing clean cuts, which is really obnoxious. The eye that's always in your hand also like just gives you constant selection every turn while like popping to your hand and also giving pumps. The spammable is like your filter engine while also being really good deck speed. You're a really stock light deck, so you can like abuse it. Level 1 lineup, you're playing like the Shimakaze that markers a card. You can really easily get reverses because of all the pumps. And because it's off a standby, you get a lot of value even if you only can get one reverse. It's really strong. You got this Resonate engine off the 1-1. It's like a level X and a plussing engine in the same card on only one slot, which is like really insane for standby. And then, of course, you have the Miyuki. The Miyuki is the most insane card. The 3-2 Miyuki early play, which like dunks on standby decks, while also just like giving you guaranteed damage. Kaguya is like a powerhouse of a deck. I don't know what else I can possibly say about it.
I think to make like another mention of like level 0. So your runner lineup is like free runner. That's also a suicider. So it's like it's still most likely trading 1-for-1. And then the K clean cut, which is just like farming like reverses and giving you value or giving you extra value by letting you save cards. So like that's I don't know how much else to like elaborate it, but it gives you a really like strong advantage at level 0.
Yeah, kind
You're
of like I
like
said. You're just dodging combat and to build value off of dodging combat at level 0, which is really powerful
Yeah.
right now.
you're a hybrid standby deck that can like outpower 8 standby decks while also like keeping up with 1k1 decks at the same time.
Yeah. Do we want to
I
cover
guess
this 1-0 precedent real quick? So like a lot of the decks, like topping decks, have run this 1-0 smartphone debut Miyuki, who just gets big against level 2s just to kind of kill him. The other option for this is a 1-0 Miyuki that just like gets to be absurdly large. He sits at like what 7-5 level 2 just for existing, for playing the game
the
correctly.
7/5 level 2 cross turn with in front of the 1/1. It's very reminiscent of the puck in older metas. How that card would sit at that same power line. Cross turn. It makes sense at the time when these decks top that they're opting to play this, since there's a lot of Dal and other Kaguya. So it just gives you a way to like shove yourself over 2/2s. The 2/2 Chica is also really nice. Talking about 2/2s, it's like a mutual free fresh, which is pretty cool.
Yep, it can be used when your opponent has a one bad turn to just like force their deck to refresh when they like triple triggered, and now they're stuck with a really bad deck that you can start swinging into, which is pretty nice. I think those are the only main differences, like as far as compared to the more standard English list that's going around right now, would be these two slots, right? Well, I think is English even do a lot of English players play the 2/2 Chica?
And seen
I played with it a little bit. It depends. I personally prefer the extra meat like Ishigamis just for consistency. Yeah. But
yep. Well, obviously these choices here are kind of like made this decision based on what they expected to play in. All right.
mm-hmm.
The next deck we have here is another very boring standard deck that's available in English. This is completely available in English now because there's only some added things to it. What?
Almost. So like that. Oh yeah. Never mind.
All
Set
of it's
2. This
yeah,
also
set 2's
has
already
set 2
dropped.
stuff. Yeah. I'm stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with the original Slime list, it basically plays the same thing. You're looking at the big engine for the deck is this level 1 Shizu. It sends itself to memory. When it gets reversed, it top checks if it's a character. Basically, this card goes to memory. When there's was it 2 of these in memory, right? You get to start slamming down this
early play condition.
Early play, yeah, this Shizu for free that has hand on core. So as soon as you hit level 2, you got to start being a little bit more aggressive, and you don't generally lose your lanes. And if you do, you get to trade a card for a 2-soul beater on the board once again. It's one of the big strengths of the deck. Another part of the deck that makes it really powerful is like anti-magic mask here. It makes it so your level 1 is way more consistent while also creating more memory. One of the big tropes of this deck is that it builds an obnoxious amount of memory at times where you get these weird scenarios where you're incredibly compressed with like 8 cards out, and it makes it harder for decks that's swinging big to absolutely destroy you. One of the big add-ons from this list or from the new set is Drago Buster. This is used to basically punish people who get too compressed as well, since you get guaranteed damage off of the top check 7 here. Is there anything else to talk about in this list, you guys? I don't play it enough to.
They added in the chaser at level 0, which I think makes it so that they can just kind of like really play that slow game right from the start.
Oh yeah, they added the Millennium Chaser and the Shizu that saves herself while also going to memory. So you're generating extra memory because you're like a sustain like heal scum kind of deck that's just gonna like heal and hope your opponent can never kill you until it's time to actually go for it. Mm-hmm. Being able to play slow from level 0 and not rush yourself to level 1 with the Riki is actually really good. Just using the Chaser to mitigate damage, and then the Shizu giving it extra attackers as well as memory, removing yourself from the deck. It's pretty nice.
Also, we had a couple decks teching like anti-salvage to even stop slime, and now a lot of those decks aren't even really in the meta. So there's nothing out here that like actively punishes like trying to salvage.
Yeah, so you're not punished for triple comboing or double comboing at level 1 anymore in this list. But I think that's about it. We can really talk about this. Any last things before we move on to the next list?
Boring dot deck. This
Yep,
was
boring
I
dot
think this
deck,
was
yeah.
here like what is it last WGP or two, and it's still here.
Yeah, it just got some better tools
Yep.
to play. It plays
Yeah.
way more into what it wanted to do originally now. Next
Deck's
list
still good.
here, another boring deck that I think if you're familiar with English meta and Japanese
This
meta,
also at the
you
previous WGP.
what?
Wasn't this also at the previous WGP?
Yeah.
Dude, all of last year's have blended together. Maybe I guess so.
Except the English one does look a bit different to the JP one right now.
Yeah. So one of the big things about Data Live in English is that there is no ban list, but in Japanese there is, and due to the ban list being a thing, it's opened up some slots for other cards that you normally wouldn't see, like in the English version. The ban list was the 1-0 back row support, right? That lets you top check when on opponent's turn. Is that correct?
Yep.
Plus
Yes.
1-0 My Little Shido
My Little
event.
Shido.
And then what was the last card on that list?
Karumi climax combo.
Kurumi level 3. Yeah. Obviously, if you're playing 8 standby, everyone's just going to play Kurumi because that card is very powerful because it has a lot of options and plays into the deck, right? Someone else want to talk about this list? I do not want to talk about it.
It's almost it's like slightly depowered, but it's still here. I don't even think there's too much to talk about. Your level 0 is still really good. The fact that like your bounce back card, when you play standby, works on any climax, and it's also a brainstorm, is still really absurd. You have the cowgirl to give you like deck speed, gives you discard outlets, so you have like good standby targets. The 1/1 Yoshino Adachi, the one that lets you like swap cards, is also really strong and can be really annoying to play against, especially if they manage to like hit it off of a standby, and now you have to like consider playing around it, or like if you're playing it like your own standby deck, losing a 2/2, or potentially losing a reverse. Like it's really good. It's still good. Do you want to add anything, Carmen?
Like I think the only downside is like the deck and JP like is slightly weaker in the mid game because you lost the 1-0, but
yeah,
overall it's still
You
like
don't have
pretty
this-
decent.
You don't have the snowball potential where, like, the big thing we talk about with 8 standby Dow is, like, you never want to go under the first lane or ever chance losing the first lane, because then your chances to stick additional damage, like, dramatically lower for every, like, the second the 1-0 Toko is on the board, because they scry into additional cancels. And because they don't have that ability to, like, basically just scum additional free turns to build their army, better their board, like refill their hand, reset their deck state. It doesn't have those like just unwinnable games for their opponents anymore. It has to actually like work for it, but it's still incredible at building out a really good board. And because that card's no longer in the deck and eating up deck slots, you have cards like the computer chip, which is really strong at the top end for like just being a really strong defensive payoff. As well as like at level 0, like we see like, one of Ricky to like level yourself up, climax swap, things like that. It did like open up space in the list when that card left.
Yeah.
So it's still strong, but yeah, it's not as snowbally.
Yep, awesome. All right, we're finally hitting new territory here. Everyone's favorite.
This is my deck.
Yeah, everyone's favorite set that was garbage until literally the last set dropped is here. Symphogear.
Dab.
Yeah, exactly. It's bar choice Symphogear.
I did the profile on this, so I can quickly talk about it. Yeah, this deck is so fucking absurd. I noticed, however, that this deck is explicitly not running the clean cut. Mainly probably because it's geared more towards like playing against decks like Kaguya, to where clean cuts can be kind of cringe versus runners. So instead it just opts to play like Ricky, like max Ricky count, max Chiuri count, max Saber count. And it instead kind of techs into like time. Yeah, the 1-0 Miku is a time machine. But basically what you're boiling down to is like almost right from the get-go, you just kind of say, I'm going, and you like tri-field and you push as much damage as you can, and then when your opponent levels you to level 2, you pop off with the early plays, and being able to mocha your opponent from level 2 onwards every single turn without like stopping is pretty good. Opponent dies pretty quickly. I think the biggest change we've seen from a lot of like initial lists, and I think I talked about it in the profile, is like the Ignite module. The Ignite module lets you like recycle your combo if it like gets answered. So you just quite literally do it again because you already have the combo starter in your hand with the level 0 Kirika.
I think this deck is the closest thing I've ever played in Weiss Schwarz to like a true
Tier 0.
RDW like burn type of deck, if you know what I mean. Like in other games like Magic. Like I feel like I'm truly playing like a burn deck when I play this.
It's
I am
so
just like-
weird you say that. It's like I get whenever I play this deck, I get the impression I'm playing like an aggro mid-range deck. Like I win really hard at during the mid game, and it just that causes me to close out the game very easily, where I don't have to work hard the following turn because it's so easy to triple early play with this deck, right? And you get the mocha
it's like you do
effect.
it
It's
every
so
game,
yeah,
even
it's
your bad
so
games,
obnoxious. Yeah, it gets so obnoxious. Like, yeah. When it comes to like mid game powerhouses, this is like the strongest deck in my opinion for like the mid game. Do you
It's
guys
like-
disagree or?
If you played back when Love Live Sunshine was a menace, like actual unbanned Love Live Sunshine, this is like it's the same kind of deck, except it's a one like completely 1k1 deck. Well, I guess back then it was too. It's not a completely a standby deck either, but you're just like shitting out this massive level 2 board. Well, not massive, but like pushes damage level 2 board.
Yeah, it's obnoxiously powerful. If you think otherwise, it's because you haven't played the deck. That's like the only way I could explain it.
Yeah.
This deck is so good. But yeah, honestly, this deck too. On a side note, is people are expecting for this deck to get hit, and when the next ban list is updated. So if you're looking to get into Symphogear, maybe wait till after the announcement of the ban list before you decide to make this deck.
Yeah, I actually think 8 bar is probably going to remain, I want to think, like relatively unfazed. But yeah, I think if I had to guess, they might do something like be like, you can either play the 1-0 Hibiki or the 3-2 Kirika. Would be like, I think, my hard read right now.
Yeah, it might be
I
something
feel
like that.
like even they might even put Ignite module on it, like which would really suck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
But-
one of the things I've been seeing some of the other top Japanese players talk about is this Hibiki that saves things. They're talking about this being on the ban list because it not only does it let your level 1 actually kill things, but it saves your level 2 game. So this card gives you 2 stock essentially every time you play it. And
That's
then
wild.
Yeah, that's why this card is at a 4 of in this list. The person playing this list really valued that, and as well as like Nico said, playing around the whole Kaguya crap where you're not.
I mean, yeah, that's why.
It's like this is giving you something at like every level. It's super scalable. It's good like at every level of the game basically because your entire deck ends at level 2.
Yeah,
like your deck's over at level 2.
The funny thing too is that it also has random synergy with the fucking time machine tech that they're adding to, letting your time machine get big enough to like pump over stuff.
Yeah, this was something we discussed earlier about. It was added in the list because the condition of having 4 characters on the board is a real condition sometimes at level 2. So this time machine going to memory, then coming back, giving you an extra character, an extra plus, is like pretty solid overall, right?
I think you usually see this or like because this is like the auxiliary slot, right?
Yeah.
So you usually see this or like the Kirika Harna Encore.
Yeah. All right, we jump into the next deck here. I think we
Before you jump in, I want to give a shout out to our boy James or Soy Saucer Weiss. Thank you for the donation, sir. Says wanted to send this out just to let you guys know this is James. I decided I'll start being more active on this account, and I'll still support you guys here. So thank you very much, James. I appreciate that, man.
Thank you so much,
Yeah,
James.
it's awesome.
All right, next list here. I know, Nico, you've been talking a lot, but you're kind of like the DBG person or Hanson.
I kind of want Hanson to talk about it because I think he was the one who really started to convince me that this is the way.
So yeah, this DBG deck aims to, in the early game, loop this 1-0 Sora combo, which like grabs one of your events that like can basically salvage her back, and like it makes looping her extremely like possible. And like I guess one thing too do keep in mind is that this combo is on like a 2-soul, which makes this deck like extremely aggressive early on.
Also, quick shout out. I do have to
Mhm.
mention it every time. I want to let people know that the scene from the event is from Rocky 4. They're reenacting a scene from Rocky 4, so you should go watch that movie.
And then
the
what was
Two
this
Soul is Armageddon.
Yeah.
Michael Bay's Armageddon.
Hell yeah.
So when you have a chance, go watch those movies.
This deck is
like,
obnoxious.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
you just pump out 2 soul every turn, starting from level 1. Like, I know when I play
Occasionally
this
from
deck,
level 0, dude. That's like the scariest part.
I sit down and I field out my 3 Soras, because you always triple Sora, and I stare my opponent in the face and I say, "This is the only card you're seeing until the end of the game," and they go, "What?" And then, like, just turn all 3 of them sideways, grab them back the next turn, play the event that searches your climax. This 1/1 event that rips climaxes out of your deck and goes to memory.
Yep.
And then, like, I don't know, we should probably talk about Hina. Hina is basically just better Cocochino, right? Like,
so it's
Except
Cool,
against the
but
mirror match, XD.
yeah, maybe
it's
not.
it's basically Kuachino, but it's you only have to ditch a card on attack instead of pay 2 ditch 2.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, oh no, you have to play these events that salvage your cards and compress your deck anyway. What a terrible drawback. Notably, this
This is
deck-
an older deck list, I think.
this deck is not running the 1/1 red promo, which really puts you to that like 4 event critical threshold like really easily. With 4 events, you're basically burn oneing every time unless you reveal climaxes or events on your opponent's deck. And the 1/1 red event also gives you like some deck speed that the deck was otherwise missing, which is really good.
Not only that, so I've actually found this to be a lot for me occasionally because I'm a really bad player and I can't draw the event that gets the climax or the climax itself. But the Dig 5, like especially on first deck, can be a godsend.
Yeah, the Dig 5 is really good for adding extra events or climaxes later. I'm happy to see that this deck is also running the level 0 yellow Hina. I think that's one of the like secret sleeper most important cards.
Yep.
For consistency in this deck is this card is really simple. It's a Shimakai, and it has a like clock exchange effect for any card. And like if you think about it, your clock is 7 random cards from your deck, right? That you're taking off top of your deck as damage. There's a high like chance that the event that you do not have in your memory at this current time when you are playing may be in your clock. And this is a card that you can like reactively grab to put that event in your clock. It's like a really good consistency tool.
Yep.
Because they can grab any event, and grab climaxes, and grab events, doesn't matter.
Also, I think another like quote unquote sleeper card. I think the Ricky in this deck is a fucking war crime, and I don't think they're going to print his profile again in a long time.
Never again. I think the Ricky's insane. This card reveals top card when it becomes reversed, and if it's a level 1 or higher card, that card goes to stock.
But the Ricky does. The Ricky goes to stock.
Yeah, the Ricky goes to stock. So, like, you're...
Well, no. So the other thing, though...
back, yeah.
No, the other thing is it lets you salvage anything. Or, I'm sorry, any summer character. So you can non-ironically use this to grab, like, a level 3 Hina. Because not occasionally, a lot of the times you're going to find, like, the 1-0 event that you use for sculpting a lot of the time, like, for your hand, isn't going to be able to get you your Hinas because you're not going to have maximum Chiuris in your waiting room because it checks for the number of Chiuris in your waiting room and lets you salvage based on, like, the level based on how many you have. So if you don't have enough, you can just plop down this Ricky, take a damage because Hina's going to heal you anyway, and just grab it.
You don't care as long as you get your Hinas off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think they'll ever print that specific. Well, I don't know. They keep printing Rickies that refund the stock. It's like the new power creep. Like even in Zombieland, the summon Ricky stuff. Like
yeah.
And like I don't know. I think the Precon one's the most insane one of the bunch. But this one, your opponent can't even deny because you can crash it.
Yep.
So like this one's even more consistent, especially with the way DBG builds its deck. Lots of level 1s.
The
But
thing
yeah,
too,
this is like the aggro deck. This is like the
Yeah, I was gonna say
this
that.
and Symphogear are like the aggressive decks in the meta right now.
Yeah, this is deck to me is more if you're from Magic the Gathering, this is more like a red deck wins type of deck to me because it's at any point your opponent makes a mistake, they've probably lost the game immediately. And like your opponent doesn't have to make this mistake, they just had to have shuffled unfortunately like and been out 5 turn 2 and then your opponent just decides to slam 3 characters into 2 soul and suddenly you've eaten like 12 damage and you're like, well, guess I'm gonna struggle this entire game.
I've played this deck before, and it's you have no idea how like happy like when you hear your opponent like non-ironically be like, "Oh no, I'm out like 4 or 5 climaxes turn 2." I'm like, "Oh, all right, dude." It's like I guess you're going to level 2 this turn.
When I play this deck, I feel like I'm playing less of a burn deck than I am when I play Symphogear, but maybe that's just me. Maybe that's the way the deck plays with like the events grabbing back and stuff like that. I feel like I have a more like stable game plan, or the Symphogear one. Not that it's not stable, but I feel like Symphogear is very all in.
I mean,
Whereas
this deck is extremely stable. You have like 16 different cards to make sure your level 1 combo happens.
Yeah, you always triple Sora unless you're having a horrific game. Which, I mean, it does happen. It's Weiss. You always have horrific games. But, I don't know. I feel like when I'm playing this, it's less of like a all-in, as-directed strategy as it is when I play Symphogear. Where Symphogear, it's like, I'm literally just waiting to, like, play all my stuff at level 2 and kill my opponent. But, you know, they're both the aggressive decks, right? They're just different kinds of aggressive. One turns on in the mid-game. This one is just the second you hit level 1, it's go, go, go.
Yeah. Gas, gas, gas. All right,
Yeah.
next deck. We back to Slime actually. So another popular list running around in the meta is 8 standby Slime. What makes this deck super unique compared to other standby lists is that the combination of the 1/0 Rimuru lets you build a ton of stock and also have more opportunities to trigger standby. So you can high roll into really strong boards because you get to summon out this big pig here. Normally this card's pretty like whatever power wise, right? This is going to be a 9/5, a 2/2/9/5 2-soul beater, and you're like, God, why would I ever waste my stock or a standby on this? It's because the second effect is obnoxious, which is when another one of your demon continent characters gets front attacked, you can sack this character to pump it 4k. So you can actually protect these level 1s if need be, or protect anything you want. And because these level 1s build 2 stock during the combo phase, you can sack the 2/2 that you summon, and then 3 cost it back out onto the board, and now your opponent has to deal with it again in their next attack, which is obnoxious. And the fact that you're getting like essentially 6 triggers when you triple combo at level 1 usually lets you like get 2 of these guys out at level 1, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the plus 4k on the sack effect with the pay 3 is like just really nuts. You think that's like an overcosted plus, but it's pretty easy to get into multiple Rimurus, and then those Rimurus ramp your board.
Yep, absolutely. And then once again, the top end is more heavy on Milim, obviously, because she combos with the other standby. What's obnoxious about this card is it has 2 finishing effects based on what your opponent's board is like. So if they have an open slot in front of this card, you get a pay 2, burn 2. But if you reverse is it at the end of attack? I forget. Or no,
It's
this card direct attacks. When this card direct attacks, you can pay 2 to burn 2. If there's so when it direct attacks, you still get to do something. When there's a character there, you can pay 2 to play Drago Buster for free from your hand. Is that correct? It's from your hand, right?
You pay
It's
2 to
not
play
free,
the
but
event
it's
instead of paying 5.
Yeah, instead of paying 5 when you reverse your battle opponent. So even if your opponent crashes their board, you still get some kind of effect where you can still get burns off. And even if they crash their board, that doesn't guarantee that you're not just going to end up hard playing Drago Buster from your hand if you have the stock, right? It's kind of what makes this so obnoxious.
You also have the option to play the card in main phase if you need to.
Yeah.
So like the Milim being just like the Amelia, if you play English, you know, every 0, it's like a card that no matter what your opponent does, they're getting a beneficial effect when they do their combo. So there's no real way to play around it. You're either screwed one way or screwed the other. Because on attack, like burn 2, attack for 3, because it's a standby that doesn't give Global Soul, is like really good numbers. So like you're getting something bad either way. And then that's combined with the Benimaru, which is it's kind of reminiscent of Yo the more that I play into this card and with this card. Where it hits the board, your whole board gets really nuts, even when it comes out in the back row, because it's a global 15, all your other, and then it's cross turn, pay 2, burn 1. It starts like pushing out a lot damage in like really sneaky ways, and like punishing your opponent for not winning board and stuff like that. It's really, really powerful card. And you have like, you have the resiliency, where like you have this 4 or more early play, and you're not punished for a 4 or more early play condition because you have the Reamer that bounces back at level 0. And you're playing 8 standby, so you play one from hand, bounce it back, so like you never have to worry about your standby screwing you over on your condition. It's pretty wild. Interesting that Listless is playing the red Rimuru for deck speed, the red Rimuru Ricky, as opposed to the yellow one. I feel like I've seen the yellow one more commonly, just to confirm the level 1 combo since it's so strong.
What about this blue card, really quick? I don't think I've ever seen this.
Oh, it has shift, which is basically completely irrelevant unless you need to turn a hand filter and you have the other Shizu in your hand. It's just
hand filter. I see.
Yeah, it's just on play Rico.
Oh, sweet. So you can grab combo pieces from your waiting room, essentially, more of your Rimuru level 1.
And it lets you ditch like Geld if you happen to draw it.
Yeah. It gives you access to your level 0 toolbox, which is always
unless
good.
you set up your waiting room. So if you have Geld in your hand, you can ditch that. If you have Benimaru, you can ditch that for other beneficial cards, right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. Very obnoxious deck. Every time I've played into this deck, I'm just like, great. I can't wait to coin flip at the end of this, game to see if I won or lost.
When they hit 2 like Gelds at level 1 on their first level 1 turn, you wanna tear your hair out. It's so hard to deal with that board unless you have the Adachi already on command. You have to like sculpt for Adachi at 0 and hope they put the other Geld to the front row. And if they have the ability to put it in back row, they don't have a brainstorm out yet. But they don't lose a lot for putting it over it. You're like really, really far behind.
All right, let's jump into the next deck here. Carmen, this is kind of you. I think you were like the only person here who's played this deck. It's 8 pants.
8
Prelia.
pants lollies. Okay, 8 pants Prelia. 8 pants Prelia is another really aggressive deck. Well, I don't know. I guess it's a more traditional deck, but it leans towards aggressive. So you have a lot of tools to mill your deck. You have 5 Azusa, as you can see here. So you have Prelia has the Azusa, the original Azusa, the level 1 with the experience 2 requirement. And then that card got reprinted with another name, which is this Ilia in the swimsuit. So you can run up to 8. Most lists are playing 5. So in between that, your level 1 combo, which is this Miyu, where on attack you discard any card, and then you check your top 3 up to your top 3, add any character that you see there in those top 3, so you can like go +2. So you're like just ripping cards to your hand, you're ripping through your deck. You have a lot of deck manipulation. You can run like up to 8 chasers. This list is running 7. You have like Goblin Slayer and the other chaser, so you have like a really obnoxious level 0. Your level 0 utility is also pretty good. You have this Climax Swabber that's also a bomb. You got a spammable Brainstorm. You got this Ricky. You got a true Ricky that also like pumps power. It's like a scalable Ricky. And then at level 2, you have like the true like re-0 anti-change counter, which is like something that no other set right now in like Japanese, so they're like re-zeros and seeing play can like present. So you have this really disruptive mid-game like anti-damage basically that like can really screw over your opponent. You have like a 2/1 on turn with like hand on core that can like clear its opponent's board. You have Free Fresh right here in this list specifically. They have one of the Miyu one, which is the old one, and then 2 of the new one. So 3 5 or less Free Freshes that then help you hold board. You have a Mesmerizing Water Goddess to keep you lean. And then you have the Kuro Bomb, which is an insane card in standby. Can clear anything at level 3 and then pop back to your hand, which is really cool with your combo. Because your combo is like a check 2 Mocha and a burn 2 for pay 1 ditch 2 in your choice of order. So this card can get really disgusting really quick. And that hand cost is really gross, right? But like, especially because this card is a heal. But the Kuro Bomb, the reason you always see Kuro Bomb in these lists, Kuro Bomb can crash out against your opponent's big cards, reverse it, that card pops back to your hand, and then fuels your combo to burn your opponent out. While also healing you down. Like, healing you down. It can be really, really disgusting. The deck just aims to play, like, really efficiently, pretty aggressively, pretty traditionally. But, like, you're free-freshing, you're, like, milling out your deck, you have really good deck manipulation. It's, like, capitalizing and having, like, really decent enough cards at every single level, standout cards being the anti-change counter, like, the finisher, and, like, the level 1 combo, and then the chasers. But then on top of that, you have, like, you can run up to 8 Ozza, and you have, like, all that deck manipulation to back it up. Which is, like, really, really cool. The one thing the deck does lack is, like, selectivity outside of, which is why the spammable Brainstorm finds its way into the decks, or, like, the Climax Stitch Salvage that you have, since you are playing 8 pants. Getting the exact card you need can sometimes be rough, and you have to, like, play ahead. But it is, like, a more aggressive-leaning, like, traditional deck. That's about all I have on Prelia. Kind of, like, gush really quickly about all the, like, decent things about the deck. I feel like this is more, so slightly more rogue, right?
Yeah,
in the lineup.
Honestly, I'm not sure if we're gonna expect this in Nats as like any of a big representation. But that did just win like 2 slots, I think it is. In if you look at the stats that Kevin put together, I know there's at least 2. It pops up.
It matches up pretty decently against Kaguya. The chasers are like really, really obnoxious. That alone, like having that like up to 8 chaser lineup at level 0 can like really put a hamper on like Kaguya's like steam, because they like ride that like good level 0 turn for the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. This can like really put the brakes on that and then answer back with like a really efficient game plan, leading into a really, really disgusting finisher. Like Mocha 2, Burn 2 in whatever order you want is like a lot of push.
Absolutely.
Especially on a healer.
All right, we'll jump into the next deck here. We have Mushoku. I think this was the only Mushoku list we saw win an event. We're not even sure if this is like the exact list people are running anymore as far as choice pants goes. I know 8 Standby has been kind of popping off a little bit lately, but this was the list that won, so we're just gonna go over this one.
This deck is boring.
It's very boring. It's a very boring deck. We're obviously all in
on this deck's hype. You just stand back forever.
Yeah, you sit here. Boring, yeah, you sit here and crash your board the entire game until you win the game, essentially. So
what you guys are talking about? This deck's sick.
This deck level 0 lamp is really, really powerful. You see every list runs 4 of this 3/5 center runner. So if you're playing the game and 5 cards in your hand, this card's 3/5, and you get to run to the center. So you can dodge combat when you know you're going to lose. A really good turn 1 card. If you're going second, a lot of lists play like 2 to 3 of this Rudy PR card. So if your opponent plays 1 card, you get to slam this card on the board, and they just immediately lose their cost 0 card if they only have 1 or less in the front row. One of the weaknesses of this deck is that you don't have very great grave access outside of the Brainstorm, so this card kind of shores up that weakness by when this card goes away and you can pay to salvage a card. So one of the big things early on, a lot of people when they start testing this deck is noticing that, hey, if all my Rudy level 1 combos like hit the waiting room, I just can't play the game anymore. It's kind of upsetting. So this obviously also dealing with like how the meta is currently at level 0, especially going into Kaguya. This PR card is really, really powerful. We have a really good Climax Swapper. It's on play, pump something 1500. It can even include itself. So worst case scenario, this is a 3k vanilla that you can actually kill things with, because there's not too many cards that are always sitting at 3k or higher. One of the standout cards for this list is this 1/0. I don't even know what this thing's called. This pendant thing, necklace thing.
Roxy pendant, yeah.
Yeah, Roxy pendant. You how this card works is essentially you play this card from your hand as long as you have a Roxy on board. You search your deck for a character, add it to hand, send this card to memory, then ditch a card from your hand. And then whenever you level up, if this is in memory, you have the option to sending this from memory to your waiting room to immediately search your deck. So there's a lot of scenarios where you open up early, you use this to find your plussing combo, and then you end up taking damage, refresh, and then you hit level 2. Then you during your opponent's attack phase, you got to start searching like potential damage out of your deck while being able to fix your hand for the following turn moving forward. So this card is obnoxious once you get a couple in memory. That's why you see a lot of lists play like this 2 of Bonder that normally kind of sucks, but this card is so good that makes people have to play this Bonder essentially. Another card in this, or these 2 other cards in this list that make this deck super powerful is if you're ever playing against this list and you don't have stock swap, this card here is going to ruin your life. This is a 1-0 Roxy that's like, well, a full board 6k. In some instances, people play it in the back row. But essentially, whenever you trigger either the choice or the pants trigger in this deck, you can pay 1, draw 1. So what happens is if you ever hit choice during your attacks, you've essentially stock charge 1 and draw 1 off of hitting a choice. So your stock is always clean. If you hit pants, you get to get a choice combo, so you can choice combo again next turn, and then pay out the pants if you need to, and keep your stock clean, especially right before a refresh. Gives you like random pluses for no reason, or basically +2 off of like triggers randomly, which is absolutely obnoxious. And then you say to yourself, man, but what if I don't have the choice combo and all the choices are in my deck? Well, don't worry, we got this 1/1 that kills early plays by sending them the stock when this card gets reversed. But it has a climax combo where if you ditch this level 0 Rudy that you're playing 4 of anyway, because it's super good, you can search your deck to put a choice climax into the climax zone. So now you get to go off again. And so like anytime you can salvage this card, it's like salvaging a climax almost, essentially, which is a bit obnoxious. And then level 2, we don't really play any level 2s here. The big thing about this deck is you want to sit there, heal, and like dirtle your way to victory. So we have this very usually easily costed tap counter to play. You're going to pay 5 stock and ditch a character from your hand to be able to play this counter. But essentially, you have clean stock that just kind of builds itself forever because this deck has almost no reason to use stock outside of needing to like fix hand or find pieces of your combo and things like that, which usually isn't an issue because you have the pendant. And then finally, we're getting into the top end. This kind of like closes everything out here is this Roxy Climax combos with the pants. When this attack is over, it's first of all, it's a healer, so it plays into the whole I'm waiting until you die game plan, but it's also a costless top end of letting you either, when this attack is over, burn 1 to your opponent to close out the game, or ditch 2 cards from your hand to burn 3. So if you have a lot of hand, you can start burning 3s to like close out the game if they're at like 3-0 when you start swinging in. Or if they're like about to die anyway, you can just like ping 1 3 times, which is really powerful, and not spin that stock and still threaten tap counter against your opponent. It gets really obnoxious, like if your opponent or if the Mushoku player is allowed to build that stock up and play that compression game plan without having to worry about stock swap. Did I miss anything?
The big thing is like even against standby, you're like not out, like you're not like completely out where you have to crash because you have the 3-2 Rudy early play, which is like president. It's like sits cross turn at 15k if you're playing the game.
Yeah,
Mushoku, so you have that. The only other thing I wanted to mention about Mushoku is that 8 standby is actually seeing a lot of play in Japan as well. No idea if we'll see that tonight, but it is something I wanted to mention. It puts out like a really consistently massive level 1 board that not a lot of decks can deal with, but there weren't any on the like current topping list from Kevin's thing. So, but I just wanted to mention that is something that's seeing play currently.
Anything else, guys?
I think that's it, honestly. You covered most of it.
All right, sounds good. We're jumping into the next deck, Assault Lily. Someone go.
This is more Carmen. I haven't actually played Book Door.
Okay, Book Door. Book Door is a deck where if you wanted to hit that Riri nut button every game, you're fucking nutting all over the place for this game. If that nut kills your opponent, we don't know. It's Icy Tail. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But if you want to do that game plan every single game while also like kind of dunking on standby decks, this deck's pretty sick. So the cool thing about this Yuri, this 1-0 Yuri, comes with the book. It's a Shimakai, but the climax combo, when you play it, this card doesn't have to be in the front row. So when you play the climax, you give another character on reverse search. So this card can chill in your back row And then that also combos with the Shenlin right to the right of it here, which is a Blind Stalker. So it can give that Blind Stalker, which has to rest a standing character when it reverses to get that Blind Stalk, that Yuri sits in your back row. So like you plus, then you Blind Stalk. And then you're going to do that at like pretty much every turn because that Yuri is going to sit in your back row and you're going to be able to tap that down. So you build like 4 stock a turn. Every turn you can resolve one of these Shenlins. And then that builds into your massive finisher, which is like an 8 stock, mill your opponent 18, attack 4 times, like crazy nut button combo. Which is unfortunately linked to Icy Tail 3s, which means like sometimes it kills your opponent, sometimes it does nothing. But that's the main game plan of the deck. Like the Yuri being a Shimakai, which like lets you stack all your reverses on one lane. That gives it to another character, while also making your stuff big and generating stock. And then Assault Lily has all these great other cards. Like it has like a pretty decent lineup of level 0s at level 0. Scalability isn't great, but like, we're just going to ride it with the Yuri into the end game. And then try to nut all over opponent and win. You can kill people from like 2-2 to 2-4 with this deck. If like the Icy Tails don't screw you. And like you can wait it out pretty well too. Like you got a lot of healers. Like your early play healers are pretty good. The blue one is loopable. The other one like memory kick stuff. So you have like threats in the mid game as well. But yeah, you're mostly just trying to like really pop off with your finisher. Another Milk Tea deck. The other Assault Lily deck seeing play is obviously like Bardor. I've chilled that deck enough. That's the field deletion deck. Yeah. But this is the one seeing more play right now.
And this one's seeing more play because the power pump lets you fight standby decks, right? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, it's more consistent than trying to nuke your opponent's board. Yeah. Because the Yuja's plus is random and non-selective. The Yuri being a search is lets you pull the perfect card. This deck is really, really consistent at doing the finisher. I think like even in my worst games, I'm always able to do single Riri, like single Yu. Like, and that's like games where I'm like really, really like things are exploding. I feel like every normal to good game that I play with this deck, I'm always like doing the crazy finisher combo. It's just that the crazy finisher combo is an Icy Tail, so sometimes your opponent mills 18 clean and cancels everything. But that's the risk you take. But this is a combo deck. This is a finisher deck. You're trying to pop off. And it just happens to answer standby very, very well. Also, the Shenlin Bomb is insane. That card's wild. It's a Ricky that checks up the top 2. You add any characters. It's a 500 power zone bomb. It's like...
The card's bonkers.
Yeah, that card's insane.
I think the card kind of like almost carries the set at the moment. Not carries, but it's definitely one of the reasons why the set's good.
Yeah, the Shenlong Bomb's insane. Big fan.
All right. 8 standby. What is Gotoban or whatever?
I don't even watch this set. I don't care about this set. I think Carmen does. Carmen, you gotta
standby deck. Okay, I gotta go again.
Quinn sucks. Yeah.
All right, this deck has been seeing a lot of play recently for some reason. It does hit really good power numbers all the time. It is very consistent because if you don't know how the Nino works, whenever that Nino standby is down, the one where she's like blushing, all of your threats. No, the one on the left. The one on the left. That one they're currently highlighting. When that one is down in the climax zone, your finisher also gains standby, like as a trigger. So if you trigger this finisher, it's the same as triggering a standby. So you're running quote unquote 12. That's the meme. 12 standby quints. So you have the ability to like get these really insane boards out like more consistently. Since like half the standbys you draw that you end up slamming will be this other one, and then every other card you trigger will be that. And you have ways to like scry into triggers, like your bounce back card gives like on attack top check. Later in the game, once other cards hit the board, you have like top 2 rearrange. Your level 0 line's like pretty solid. You have like runners. Other decks run the runner that's also a 2k backup. You have full field. You have the Ricky to like accelerate yourself to level 1. Gives you Ichikas to play more Ichika cards. Like there's some pretty cool tech in the deck. I am kind of stumped on this one. I feel like even 8 standby Mushoku might do what this is trying to do better, but I mean, like, it's got to be working. I think a big reason is probably the 2-2 Nino. The 2-2 Nino that can come out standing if you play the other standby. It's like what is it? This card's like a 12-5, it's 13-5. It can get really, really big. And then you hand on core it, and then like it swings over your thing another turn. So like if you're trying to like vie for board, this 2-2 Nino can be like really, really disruptive, making sure that you like always win board. So in a meta of like playing for board, the 2-2 Nino is really, really good. And then of course you have Bracelet, you have like this defensive counter to help you like edge out those games. And then the Nino finisher on her own, like that's like a on attack, that same sort of numbers, right? Where like Milan was like burn for 2, swing for 3. This Nino's going to be like attack for 2, burn for 3 at the end. So like a very stable, like good number finisher for like a very efficient cost. So I'm not surprised that it's seeing a lot of play per se. More like this seeing play over other 8 standby strategies. Maybe I have to see it in motion. Maybe we'll see some of it tonight. Maybe we won't. Who knows?
Yeah, I think one of the things, like just after you explaining and looking at this list, is there is value in how consistent this deck is, because no matter what standby you open up at level 1, you can just slam one of these standbys and do something at level 1. You essentially have 2 standby combos, right? In a way, you either get this 2/2 out early, or you get to have 12 triggers in your deck, right? Essentially. So you can probably like kind of high roll
attack too. Like you get this 2/2 out and it's big on turn.
Yeah, and you get, and if you don't play the 2/2 climax, you get the other climax, which gives you more opportunities to high roll into a big board. And because you're playing standby, you're already guaranteed like getting out a 2/2 in the back row or something like that, or something else you need in the back row, and then you can have opportunities to like slam more of these 2/2 in the front row after the next couple attacks if you kind of high roll into triggering like the level 3 or another standby, right? So I assume that's like the whole idea behind like why people like this, is because it's just consistent no matter what you draw into.
The Ichika that you see pop up too, I was actually talking about this with Jason earlier tonight. Like this Ichika that's like a Breath 2 Brainstorm and a sack check 4. It's like just a 9-card mill to like give you like some pretty good like on-demand deck speed and a stock out. Which is like, something that like decks without spammables, like I think that's like another thing. Like Mushoku has the ability to play spammable, a really good spammable 8 standby Mushoku, and like those are like kind of like the cornerstone of good standby decks. Like you have like a really good stock out and a deck speed engine.
All right, we're moving into the last deck of the night. Is Nijigasaki. I feel like this has fallen out of favor a little bit. But who am I to know? I know at one point this was rated very, very highly, but I don't know if it still is.
This deck did recently win like China Nats, so it's still like pretty popular and a pretty good deck.
Does anyone have enough experience with this deck to talk about it? Because I only played against it.
It's fucking obnoxious. I hate playing against this deck.
So Carmen, I'll give him a little bit of a break, but he can kind of like fill in where it's missing. So the main point of the deck is you standby out 1/1s and 2/2s that all get to the twin drive, and for every soul trigger that they hit off of their twin drive, they get a 1k cross turn power bonus. Also, you can zoom in on like I think it's a 1/0 that has a soul trigger, by the way.
Oh yeah, the 1/0 yeah.
Yeah,
I remember seeing
so
this.
every it's a global 5, and anytime you reveal a soul trigger, you also just get to pump something by 2k power.
I want this card banned on principle. Yeah. Like
what ends up happening is like you'll have like a 1/1, and it'll get to I think like what, like let's just say you low roll and you hit only one soul trigger, so it'll be like 6/5 by itself. I think. What's the base power of that one?
It's base 6k.
Oh, so it'll be 7k. But since you hit a soul trigger, it'll be 9k. But then that thing's also a global 500. So
it's not global 500. It's only 500 in front. But it has rest give something. Yeah, it has rest give something 500. So it's almost like a global 500.
Yeah, but how this deck mainly plays is it's a standby deck that gets massive to try to take down other standby decks, and you get to kind of pseudo keep your stock clean due to your standby targets being able to twin drive.
You also have a really annoying like suite of level 3s where like the Setsuna you don't even have to have on board, and if you trigger another standby, if you happen to have one of your 50% of your standby down, you just get to burn 2 at the end of your turn. And, like, if you triggered a standby on not your first attack, and you have tools to not do that, you just get to, like, burn your opponent for 2 and pay out, which is pretty obnoxious. And if you trigger the other one, you get a lion, which, like, you just get a card that gives you an attack.
Yeah.
And it also pays out its standby.
And it's also global 1k5.
There's
It's
a card
global
that this
1500 also? Holy crap.
There's another card that this deck isn't running that I've seen in a lot of decks, which is the Kanata, I believe was her name, which is like, you don't even go to the attack phase, you ditch a character and you burn 1, burn 3. Like, the card rests itself, so you can, like, even dodge the battle step in this deck if you want to. Yeah, like, you have a lot of ways to just, like, be extremely obnoxious, but...
And if you really want, you can still play the money counter in this deck.
Yeah, you can. You're in enough blue to play money as well. So,
Man, this
really obnoxious standby.
Yeah. This deck is obnoxious. This looks like brain dead deck. Holy crap. Oh,
you
man.
put the cards down, you twin drive the red power buttons out, and you keep going.
Jesus, yeah. I'm glad I don't have to play this deck against this deck that often.
All right. I have to all the time. Multiple of my locals have this deck. I play against it a lot.
I'm so sorry.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. But I think the thing about the deck when you sit against it that can sometimes be like weird. It's like, there are tons of deck that gets insane power, right? Like we looked at Assault Lily, like that deck can like shove over a lot of stuff with the cards that it runs.
Mm-hmm.
But like the thing about Niji is like they randomly quote unquote trigger for the power, which makes it feel worse.
So like,
this
deck basically wins like any standby mirror through like power.
Yep. Yeah. Always win on their turn. But yeah, I think is that the last deck we have?
Yep, this is the last deck we have. Yep. I mean, we could touch up really quick. I'll just talk about like Zombieland Saga just dropped. So did what were the other 2 sets that dropped? That
World Trigger,
and there was just a trial deck for that other series, right?
I think we can legitimately also talk. We didn't talk about 8 standby Mushoku, so we can kind of discuss that real quick.
I mean, we did a little bit. It's just a standby deck that has a really strong power at level 1, and then can get an obnoxious board if you kind of high roll. One of the big strengths about the level 1 combo is that you just get a cigarettes into counters nonstop. So you're not only does your opponent have to deal with like 1-1-8-5s, but they also have to like consider the 2k counter that you now have in your hand. And if you already have the 2k counter in your hand, you can just like get other pieces for later in the game and things like that. I mean, is there much to even talk about other than that? Like most of the games you win just by like winning at level 1 and then like kind of snowballing it from there, right?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah,
because like honestly, most of the games I've played with that deck, I don't even use the top end to kill people. My opponent just dies. I do. Oh, I guess one note about it too is like I know some people have started including the Roxy package as far as including the 1-0 event and some amount of other Roxys to like bond to it. One of the biggest annoyances with the deck is that it doesn't have a lot of really good ditch outs during main phase, really, right? And that Roxy Bonder kind of fixed that along with the event. And then you get to play good Roxy stuff, I guess. Is there anything else about the deck that's really noteworthy?
No, I think that's about it. And like we have to prep for King of the Hill. We got that in 27 minutes.
Oh yeah. So let's those two decks we recently talked about. World Trigger, I don't think we've seen crap worth from World Trigger. Does anyone know anything about World Trigger? Is it even worth thinking about going into
this? It's not.
All right.
No.
The next thing is Zombieland Saga that literally came out last Friday, right?
Yeah.
Has not been figured out yet, but it seems the popular list going around is either you're playing Gold Bar level 1 or some combination of Choice or Gate level 1, right?
Yeah.
Door. Deck hasn't really been explored much about, and I'm sure that like a lot of players that are more, at least in Japan, that really push out what deck lists most people end up copying are really busy dealing with their own national stuff. So maybe we'll see Zombieland Saga. Maybe we won't. We'll see what happens. It is worth like thinking about a little bit. And since it's not figured out yet, we can't really directly talk about it too much. But just know that the gold bar combo is pretty strong. It's when the card attacks, it gains the effect that until an opponent's turn, that if this card gets front attack, it bounces back to your hand. And also when it attacks, you can ditch a card from your hand for the combo, salvage a character from your waiting room. So you get a like hand fix while also getting the pluses off of jumping back and just constantly recycling the gold bar combo essentially. And then the choice combo is really good. If you let your opponent get one reverse when they have the choice combo, you can essentially guarantee that your entire board, if you're trying to play for field, just gets nuked into oblivion, right? The combo is when the battle opponent gets reversed, you get 2 effects. One of the effects is you pick a level 1 or higher on your opponent's field, and they swap it with a X or lower, where X is that level -1 that you picked onto the board. The other effect is top check 4, add 1 to hand. Like I said, if you let your opponent get 1 reverse, you can essentially say goodbye to your board. There's situations where like a level 0 in front of a level 2 by the end of the turn is going to actually stay on the board and kill your card across from it. That's like how obnoxious it can get. Anything else worth noting about Zombieland right now? All right,
I don't think so. It's like the main points, yeah.
Yeah, it's just really new right now, so it's nothing is concrete yet. So Zombieland Saga might make like a break and like win the entire Nats or not. We'll see coming up. I think Nats begins in about 3.5 hours. In about 24 minutes from now, we're gonna have King of the Hill back on here. So if you guys want, stick around our channel and you'll see. Did anyone put up the King of the Hill video live stream yet or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we'll put that up right now and then announce it so you guys can come back and check out the King of the Hill and have a little fun right before Nats later tonight if you plan to stay up all night to watch Nats. Otherwise, on Sunday this week, during the day, we're going to have a restream of all the matches, I believe, or maybe just the finals. I'm not sure exactly how many we're going to
We might do tomorrow, too. I think it all depends on availability of people.
Yeah, either tomorrow or the day after, we'll make sure to do some prior announcement. But if you want to watch with our commentary for the matches, come check us out then. Otherwise, I think SBTCG is doing a live stream tonight, which is pretty brave of them for the most part.
Brave souls, man.
Yeah, because
I'm a boomer, so I can't stay up all night.
They're doing top 4 into finals, so I'm sure that's going to be like a 6-hour stream or something ridiculous, unless they're really, really speedy. But it's Nats, and Japanese players like to play slow, especially when they're not timed. So I think that is it. Hope to see some of you guys in the King of the Hill.
I do have one last shout out.
What's the last?
So if you missed it yesterday, check out Strictly Broken's YouTube. They went ahead and posted a video of us playing Jeopardy, featuring I believe the contestants were me, Kit, Hanson, Carmen, and Oliver, who's also kind of well known in the community.
Yeah, and then obviously I had the highest real number out of everyone there. Just so guys, it's true. I'm not lying. It was the highest real number.
I think it was the lowest, but all right.
What? Oh man. All right.
The greatest number of digits.
I definitely had the most digits for sure. Other than that, guys, I hope to see you guys back here in about 20 minutes. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Later.